Welcome to the Brain Development in Early Epilepsy Parent Priorities Project. The BEE study is a longitudinal project aimed at tracking the development of babies with epilepsy in order to understand features that might predict later outcomes such as autism. By understanding how both of these conditions affect early development, we hope to be able to improve later outcomes for individuals with epilepsy and autism. We will be particularly focusing on early behavioural, brain and cognitive development over the first 2 years of life, conducting home-based assessments including recording baby's brain activity and play-based tasks and questionnaires to measure different areas of development. We recognise the importance of the co-production of research priorities for infant epilepsy, and so the main aim of BPP was to explore the lived experiences of families with a child with epilepsy and work with parents and carers to identify key areas for researchers to focus on. Our main areas of interest were the value of co-production, impact on family life and well-being, and parent concerns and research priorities. By speaking directly to parents and carers about their experiences, we can better understand the challenges they face as well as their concerns to identify which aspects of early behaviour and development in early onset epilepsy are most key for families. To achieve our objectives, we invited parents and carers of children up to 15 years of age with or who had early onset epilepsy diagnosed before 3 to complete an online survey. We opened the survey at the end of 2021 and received 20 responses. More information about our findings from the survey can be found on the BEE study website. Following our online survey, we conducted a focus group with 5 parents and carers and 2 charity representatives to further explore their experiences and to understand their concerns or priorities and how we can translate these into real-life change in our research on early development in epilepsy.
If you don't have our experiences, our lived trauma, I think it's difficult to appreciate how challenging it can be. And I think the fact that you're including us is absolutely brilliant, because I think often we're not included. It has to be a partnership. It's completely a partnership.
Only by hearing really regularly and directly from parents do you get a realistic picture of the incredibly complicated outcomes.
Parents need researchers to feel that they're listening and to look at what's actually important to families.
How we live and how we feel about what we go through with our children must be integral to anything that you're going to research. There are real people living behind all of this. It completely dominates, I think, how we've had to live our lives.
I have been for a very long time on autopilot. I couldn't really feel any emotions, and I just went to problem-solving mode, looking for doctors, treatments, research, because that was my way of dealing with everything that was happening.
You just endlessly put yourself and your own health after everybody else's.
It has changed how we see her and how her siblings see her.
I also suspect long term it's going to have a huge impact on her and her levels of stress and her personality.
I think it's that kind of low level, just always on alert, and I think as a parent as well, that's one of the way it impacts my life the most, because even when things seem to be more stable, you just have that underlying anxiety all the time and just waiting for something difficult or bad to happen.
What you don't do is prioritise yourself. So you're prioritising your child who has epilepsy, but you are also worrying about any other children that you have that don't have epilepsy that you're not giving the amount of time to because you physically can't.
All mums, I think, when parents go through that phase of kind of the hassle involved in organising anything and doing anything if you've got a young kid is just kind of doubles, and so a lot of the time you can't be bothered. But then if you've got a child with epilepsy, it's 10 times more complicated, and it goes on for years. It's not just when they're a toddler.
Just this chronic exhaustion all the time. Sometimes when you don't even feel that tired, you just don't feel like normal.
It is overwhelming, and it is a huge responsibility that I don't think others can necessarily really appreciate.
I think finding spaces where you do feel really comfortable asking questions and having a chat and not feeling that you have to be going through exactly the same thing as someone else in order to be able to have a conversation is really helpful.
Don't think that the parent support groups are just valuable for the information, but also for seeing, or at least for me, for learning how to live with this.
Speaking to people who understand actually is the most helpful thing.
I think, I know a lot of the epilepsy charities have really good pages where they talk about the meds and what the action of the med is in a really an easy to comprehend way, but also talk about the side effects in perhaps ways that the doctors don't. Working with the research team is going to be really important, because the solutions for these rare conditions are not going to come through the traditional processes that happen with most drugs.
I just feel like I would just want just better research and information on actual risks and kind of practical things you can do to prevent it without being kind of panicky or scaremongery.
And I would like to see some more research into the impact of the medication on behaviours and then therefore the impact of that on well-being, because it all connects.
They just don't know about it, and none of the teachers knew about it. But does there need to be a label that is kind of epilepsy-related learning difficulties that allows you to access some of these extra supports through your counsel, through the education system? A kind of a better understanding or a more detailed understanding of likely outcomes, and that perhaps that the outcomes can be a bit varied and a bit complicated.
And it's just looking at it at different levels of needs, and it's going to depend where you and your family are, what you feel is important. So as long as all of those voices are heard and all of those things are addressed as far as possible, and as long as we're listening to all of those voices, then you're doing the job right.
We'd like to thank the parents and carers who took part in the VPP project. With their input, we have been able to increase understanding of what matters most to caregivers in researching early onset epilepsy. This input will be key in informing public-facing outputs to increase awareness of the challenges families face, and guiding the focus of current research within the wider research programme.